Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor. And last night's debate was fun. It was different. It got wonderful. There were a lot of good feelings in that room, and I think it's something, frankly, that the Republican Party needed. And today is something very, very special because Dr. Ben Carson was respected by everybody. Everybody wanted his endorsement, and everybody loves him and truly, truly admires what he's done. His life has been an incredible life. It's been a awe-inspiring life. And I just want to tell you that having his support really, I think it adds just total credence to what I'm trying to do and to what we're all trying to do. So I just want to introduce Dr. Ben Carson, special, special person, special man. Thank you very much. Okay?
Thank you. Well, thank you, Donald. And you know, this whole process, getting involved in the political process was something that I never particularly intended to do. But, you know, I listened to the people, and it was really all about the people, and it continues to be all about the people. You know, it's not about the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. It's about the people of America. And what I have been seeing recently is political operatives and parties once again trying to assert themselves and trying to thwart the will of the people. I find that that is an extraordinarily dangerous place to be right now. And, you know, I want the voice of the people to be heard. I want the political process to play out in the way that it should play out. And, you know, I think the Republican Party particularly would be very wise not to adopt let's stop this guy and let's promote this guy policy, but rather start thinking about what are the things that are going to be helpful for America. Right now, you know, we're in a process of going off the deep end. We're going off the cliff. We're fiscally irresponsible. We're hating each other. We're destroying ourselves. A house divided against itself cannot stand. We're failing to take a leadership position on the world stage. Now, some people have said, well, why would you get behind a man like Donald Trump? I'll tell you why. First of all, I've come to know Donald Trump over the last few years. He is actually a very intelligent man who cares deeply about America. There are two different Donald Trumps. There's the one you see on the stage, and there's the one who's very cerebral, sits there and considers things very carefully. You can have a very good conversation with him. And that's the Donald Trump that you're going to start seeing more and more of right now. And some people said, but, well, you know, he said terrible things about you. How can you support him? Well, first of all, we buried the hatchet. That was political stuff. And, you know, that happens in American politics. The politics of personal destruction, all that, is not something that I particularly believe in or anything that I get involved in. But I do recognize that it is a part of the process. We move on because it's not about me. It's not about Mr. Trump. It's about America. And this is what we have to be thinking about. I have found in talking with him that you know, there's a lot more alignment philosophically and spiritually than I ever thought that there was. He will speak to that, but you know, that actually surprised me more than anything, because I do recognize how a person's image can be greatly distorted, having been the victim of that. I probably understand it better than anybody. And I think as the American people who we are focusing on, as they begin to see the real individual there and those who are helping that individual, I think we're going to be comforted as a nation. You know, we have to start working together. We cannot allow the agents of division to continue to separate us. As a nation, our strength is our unity. And we just have to sort of ignore those people who are always trying to stir up strife, And I'm appealing to some degree to the media as well. You know, you're part of America too, and should be interested in strengthening our nation, not in creating divisions, not in creating conflicts all the time. If we start having that American attitude, that American spirit that made us great, that took us to the pinnacle in no time at all, believe me, everybody will benefit from that. We're also talking about how can we make America a place that's successful for everybody. You know, we have 330 million people. We're going to be competing with China with 1.4 billion, India 1.1 billion. We have to develop all of our people. You know, the people who are the downtrodden in our society, we're not doing those people any favor by patting them on the head and saying, there, you poor little thing, I'm going to take care of all your needs. What we need to be doing instead is concentrating on mechanisms to allow those people to climb out of a state of dependency and become part of the strength and fabric of this nation. That's what America is about. It's not about dependency. And it certainly isn't about socialism. You know, socialism is seen as the panacea by some who don't really understand it. I think a lot of young people think socialism is just being concerned about other people. That's not what it is. You know, it's cradle-to-grave government. And you let them take care of you, but you give them all of your money, you give them control of your life. They all end up looking the same way. A small group of elites at the top controlling everything, a rapidly diminishing middle class, and a vastly expanded dependent class. That is not what made America great. Donald Trump talks a lot about making America great, but it's not just talk, he means it. I'm going to be helping him. Others are going to be helping him. You know, one of the things that I've discovered in this country is we have some incredibly smart people. None of us knows everything. But when we begin to use those smart people effectively to accomplish the goals of America, you're going to see us once again begin to ascend to the pinnacle, to a much higher pinnacle than we've ever achieved before, and that's where America should be. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ben. And Ben and I were talking lengthily yesterday, and it was an amazing conversation. One of the things that I realized is his great love is education. And he was telling me things about education, and it was so right on, and it was so good, and it's such an important element for our country. And I said, Ben, congratulations. You just have to get involved with us with education, because our educational system in the United States, as you've heard from my speeches, we're ranked at the bottom of the pack worldwide, and yet we spend the most money per pupil, by far the most money. It's not even close. Second doesn't even exist. So Ben is going to get very much involved in that, and he's going to get very much involved in health care, where he's an expert. And even during the debates, I'd always know Ben, when it came to health care and talking about health, Ben was in really a class by himself. So it's such an honor to have Ben. He's a friend. He's become a friend, and I really appreciate the endorsement, Ben. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions, folks? Yes.
Mr. Trump.
David?
Mr. Trump, two questions. First of all, did you guys sort of gently or formally apologize to each other for some of the nasty things you said to each other on the trail?
Yeah, it's politics. Yeah, it is politics. It's tough stuff. It's a tough business. I used to think real estate in Manhattan was tough. This is like, it's a tough business, this politics. A lot of things happen in politics that don't happen anywhere else. Yeah, so we understand that. Go ahead.
Okay, and secondly, sort of the question always comes up in big endorsements. Has there been any discussion between the two of you men, or any promises made about a position for Dr. Carson in your administration?
No.
Either as a running mate, as Secretary of Health and Human Services?
And I thought it was lovely, because when Ben called, he didn't say, oh, would you do this, would you do that? He just wants to help. And he feels strongly about what's happening. And you see the kind of crowds we get. We get crowds that are amazing and record-setting. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Well, I mean, it's on the cover of every magazine. There's never been anything like it. So Ben sees that, and Ben's going to have a big, big part. I can tell you, Ben, maybe Ben doesn't even know this yet, but Ben's going to have a big part. We want to keep that kind of talent. We want to keep. Yes?
Mr. Trump, do you see Mr. Carson, Dr. Carson, playing a policy role principally for your campaign, or as a surrogate out on the campaign trail going places you're not going? And when he says there are two Donald Trumps, do you agree with that characterization? And could you amplify on it?
I probably do agree. I think there are two Donald Trumps. There's the public version, and people see that, and I don't know what they see exactly, but it seems to have worked over my lifetime. But it's probably different, I think, than the personal Donald Trump. I think Ben would say that. Ben said it very well today. So perhaps there are two Donald Trumps. But, I'm somebody that is a thinker. I'm a big thinker. And I have my ideas, and they're strong, and, typically they've worked out. And what I want to do is, the theme, and Ben alluded to it, the theme that I have for this entire campaign is Make America Great Again. That's what I want to do. Very simple. I want to make America great again. We have so many problems, whether it's military, whether it's trade, whether it's borders, whether it's terrorism. We have so many problems. The debt. You look at our debt, $19 trillion, going up to $21 trillion in a very short fashion. So we're gonna straighten things out, and we're gonna straighten them out correctly.
Policy or politics for you?
Dr. Carson's both. Dr. Carson is both, but he's going to be very much on policy. Ben was always very strong on policy, and he's going to be very much on policy.
Mr. Trump.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Trump. You've been talking a lot about unity on the campaign trail and in the debate last night. Can you fill us in on any outreach efforts you're making to Capitol Hill? And then I also wanted to ask you an Islamic State question after that.
Yeah, we have been called by the biggest people in politics, not only Republican politics, but also the biggest people in Republican politics. And over the last couple of weeks, you saw Paul Ryan reached out, and terrific guy. I've always respected him. I've always liked him. And not necessarily agree on everything, because I'm very strong on borders and very strong on security. And I think Paul is, I think he's going to have his views, and I think probably certain things will change. But Paul Ryan reached out, and we had a great conversation, and many other people at the top level. I sort of get a kick. I see you covering one person who's saying Donald Trump must be stopped, and I talked to him 2 days before, and he's saying, Donald, we have to come together. We've been contacted by many of the biggest people in Republican politics.
Congressional lawmakers as well, proactively?
Well, I'm reaching out, but they're really reaching out to us because they see what's happening. We're getting millions and millions of people, additional people that the Republican Party has never had before. It's the biggest story. I said it last night at the debate. It's the biggest story in politics is what's happening. We are having millions and millions of people come up and vote for the Republicans. They get out, they register Republican. I've had so many people tell me, I've never voted Republican in my life. I left the Democrats in order to register as a Republican so I could vote for you. Independents, Democrats, and you see it. We're up 65%, more than that. Millions of people more. And that's what I'm saying. The Republicans now want to embrace it. I mean, I see it. They want to embrace it. Tom?
And I also wanted to ask you about Islamic State quickly. Last night in the debate, you talked about potentially sending up to 30,000 American troops to the Middle East to fight Islamic State.
We have to get rid of ISIS.
That's more troops than George Bush sent to Afghanistan after 9/11.
Let me tell you, we're going to get rid, and they're going to get back real soon. We have to get rid of ISIS. It's going to be up to the generals. We have to get rid of it, but the generals are going to be able to play their own game. I want to find out I have the right general. I want to find out we have the right general, Ben, right? We don't want to have the wrong general talking to us, but we're going to find the right general. We're going to find the right guy or person or woman.
Prepared potentially for a long war?
No,
under
it's going to be very quick. It's going to be very quick. We're very powerful. We don't use our power. Yes.
Mr. Trump, two questions. First, on the bearing the hatchet deal with you and Dr. Ben Carson, you mentioned politics is rough. Do you personally regret any of the things you said about Dr. Carson?
Well, it's a funny thing. I was thinking about it yesterday, and because I have such respect for Ben. And if you notice, I mean, the CNN poll came out 49-15. How do you like that, Ben? He wouldn't have been happy. But if you notice, during this whole thing, nationally I'm talking about, because ultimately, they say national isn't as important. Well, ultimately, I guess it's probably the most important. So CNN comes out 49 a couple of days ago, 49 for Trump and 15 for the two others. I think we're at 15. The one person that just kept sneaking up on me, I couldn't lose him, was Dr. Ben Carson. I could not lose that guy, and I was doing well. And Trump would be at 28 at that time. And I remember when it was 28, and Ben was 18, and then he was 19, and the next week it was like 22. And I said, whoa, what's this happening here? I don't like this, right? And then he was 24. And then I had a pretty good poll where I took a little lead in one, But then what happened is it was, I believe, NBC, Wall Street Journal, who always gives me bad polls, by the way, I have to tell you. I always have bad polls. Oh, thank you for the nice things you always say about me. You are so nice. Thank you. Sitting next to David. Okay? Thank you very much. Always so nice. Now she's going to be bad because she's embarrassed, but I just want to thank you. So Ben would always, like, he'd be there. And then we had one poll where Ben went ahead. It was the biggest story worldwide. I said, this guy is unbelievable. And so I started going after Ben. And it's politics. I mean, Ben understands that. And I was really impressed with the way he fought back, because he fought back with silence and strength. And I even comment on it. Somebody else would have gone, they would have gone wild. He has great confidence in himself. And I was very, very impressed. And it is true. He's the one person, I use the expression, I couldn't lose him. I couldn't shake him. He did so well. And just go up, 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 so steady, so solid. And I fought back and I hit him hard. And which is politics, and Ben understands that. And he understood that because I talked to him about it yesterday. But he handled it with such dignity. I frankly thought it was amazing. I actually gained a lot of respect for him. Okay.
So on that point, though, Mr. Trump, you talked about the two Donald Trumps, that there may be, Dr. Ben Carson brought that up. When you say things like, I want to punch a protester in the face, or when you said the things about Dr. Ben Carson, is it just politics? Are you playing a character there?
It's politics and it's fact. Let me just tell you, we've had some violent people as protesters. They're not just people saying, oh, these are people that punch. These are people that are violent people. I get the biggest crowds by far, not even a contest. And, you people don't like to report it. But actually, the one thing good about protesters is you have to go into these stadiums, these massive stadiums with 25 and 30,000 people. And you have to, at least you see, because the cameras never turn. Hey, Ben, the cameras never, ever turn and show the stadium. I always say turn and show how the stadium, they don't. But when there's a protester up in the corner, it's great because the cameras all turn. That's the only reason. Because, it's a negative as opposed to a positive, so they turn. But we've had a couple that were really violent, and the particular one, when I said, like to bang him, that was a very vicious, he was a guy who was swinging, very loud, and then started swinging at the audience. And you know what? The audience swung back. And I thought it was very, very appropriate. He was swinging, he was hitting people, and the audience hit back. And that's what we need a little bit more of. Now, I'm not talking about just a protester. This was a guy who should not have been allowed to do what he did. And frankly, if you want to know the truth, the police were very, very restrained. The police have been amazing, but the police were very, very restrained. Okay, yes?
Mr. Trump, did the RNC ever come to you, and I don't know if you know about the other candidates, but did they ever come to you and say this debate needs to be more civil?
No, they didn't.
If not, why do you think it was more civil?
I just think it was time. It was time. It was very substantive last night. I said before, it was a very elegant debate. It was very substantive. It was, Ben came in and he said, that was really a very beautiful debate last night. It's gotten great reviews as a debate. I won't tell people that I won, even though I did win, let me just say. I refuse to say that. Time Magazine, 80. Slate, 84. Fox, 91% at Fox. I don't believe it. NewJersey.com, 81. So, I mean, we had a debate last night, and I think I did what I had to do, actually. But it was, I don't know. We've had enough debates, in my opinion. We've had debates, these debates, they've been like Vince McMahon should have put them on because they were WWE and too much. And I think that it really, I think last night was something that was very important that it come off like that. And we didn't speak, and the candidates didn't speak about it, but it just sort of morphed into a very dignified debate. Yes?
Mr. Trump.
Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
Mr. Trump, you said in the debate last night you hadn't decided whether you're going to accept fundraising for the general election.
Accept what?
Whether you're going to raise money for the general
Yeah.
election. But if you go that route, doesn't it undermine your pledge to voters that you won't be
Well, I don't think so, because I wouldn't be taking money. If anything, the party would be taking money. I'm not going to take any money. I don't want money. But the party might take money. It's up to the party. That's really up to them. It's not up to me. And it's something I haven't given much thought to. I've self-funded my campaign. I put in, I guess I'll be in for $50, $60 million at a minimum. Right now, I am somebody that's a business person, and even when I don't, the money is sort of irrelevant, but I have a natural instinct to be a little bit careful with money because that's the way I am. That's the way we have to be with our country. I expect to have, tremendous amounts of money in this by the time we finish. I guess right now I'm into, you would know better than me, maybe $30 million, maybe more. But other people are in for $150 million and they're nowhere. They're out of the race. So I'm very proud of the race we've run. Somebody said, he's only been doing this for 8 months. But I know the system better than anybody. And the reason I know, because I was on the other side of the system. So when they talk about campaign finance laws, when they talk about all of these different things, I've been there. I know it much better. And I know it from the real side, not from the politician's side. Yes?
Mr. Trump, I just want to go back.
Good job last night, by the way.
Thank you, sir. I want to go back to what Major asked and also what Tom asked about what Dr. Carson said this morning on the radio and here about the two Donald Trumps. So many people know you and like you because of your public persona. Is that the real Donald Trump, or is it something that we don't see?
Well, it's an interesting question. I don't like to overanalyze myself, but I will tell you that I try and be, who I am. I want to be honest. Certain questions are asked to me, and I give a straight answer as opposed to a politically correct answer. I know the politically correct business better than anybody.
Would you answer differently if you were in private?
No, I don't think so. I'd like to. I answer truthfully. Look, we're at a point where we have to start being truthful with our country. Like the question on Islam. I'm answering the question, and I know the exact answer. I could have given an answer the other night to Anderson Cooper, which would have been perfect, and nobody would have been talking about it. It would have been fine. But there is a problem, and we've got to find out what the problem is. We have to solve the problem, and you're not going to solve the problem unless you know there is a problem. So I want to answer questions honestly and forthrightly, and even if I'm on a big stage with all of these tremendous numbers of cameras around, I have to answer honestly. It's the only way we're going to solve the difficulties of our country. Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Trump, just along the same lines, so why are there two Donald Trumps? Did you at some point make a conscious decision to behave differently in public?
I don't think there are two Donald Trumps. I think there's one Donald Trump, but certainly you have, look, all of this, and you have somebody else that sits and reads and thinks. And I'm a thinker, and I have been a thinker. And perhaps people don't think of me that way because you don't see me in that forum, but I am a thinker. I thought it was very nice what Ben said, actually, because it is another side of me. I'm a very deep thinker. I know what's happening, okay?
Dr. Carson said that we start seeing more of that side of you. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, I'm going to work with Ben on so many different things. And I'll be honest, when I was with Ben yesterday, the thing that most impressed me, I know all about his views on healthcare because I've heard them, and I've always felt that he knew more about it than the other people on the stage, and perhaps he should because that was what he was doing. But I was most impressed with his views on education. It's a strength, and it's a tremendous strength. And so Ben's going to be involved with us in any aspect he wants to be, but in particular on those two subjects. Okay. Yes, go ahead.
I meant more of this toned-down version, what we saw last night, what Dr. Carson referred to as your cerebral side. Do you plan to tone down your performances as
it depends. You can't say. I didn't go there as a toned-down person. I went, and whatever happens, happens. You have to be able to swing with the punches. And, to be honest with you, I went there. I didn't know if I was going to be. If I was hit, I would have hit back. Now, there are those people that said to me, I was telling Ben yesterday, there were those people that said, it doesn't matter, let them call you names, let them do whatever they want, stand there and take it. You're leading, you've got a substantial lead, nobody's going to beat you, don't do anything. And I say, I can't do that. When somebody hits, I have to hit back. So I thought they were very respectful yesterday. I thought, frankly, everybody did well. I thought it was I used the expression, I thought it was a very elegant debate last night. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Trump, two quick things. You said earlier that you felt we've had enough debates. There is potentially another debate scheduled on March 21st. Is your suggestion to the RNC at this point, guys, we've had enough?
I think we've had enough debates. I mean, how many times do you have to give the same answer to the same question? Do you agree with that, Ben? I mean, the same question, same people, same everything. I think, it would be nice to finish off with this one. I thought CNN did a fantastic job last night. I thought that Jake was a great moderator. It was just a really nice way to finish off the debate season. But I really think it's enough debates. I don't think there's any reason for the debates. I know they're getting very big ratings. And by the way, the Democrats are not getting ratings at all. And our debates are getting very, very big ratings. But, one of those things. I think we had enough. The network, look, the networks want him. I don't think any of the candidates want him at this point. The networks very much want him.
Can you talk about also, there's a phrase you've been using the last several days on the trail and in interviews. You've said embrace it to the Republican Party. I know you were asked a little bit about that earlier.
Yeah.
As you move forward now and as the contests start to limit, what are you going to do? Are you going to find yourself surrounding yourself with more people who are endorsing you, speaking on your behalf?
Well, when I said embrace, I was saying that the Republican Party should come together and embrace these millions of people that are going down and voting. Millions. You know, South Carolina, New Hampshire, no matter where it is, it's the millions and millions of people. We've had, I was going to bring down a list, and I said I didn't want to bore you people, but we've had some states that are up 102% from 4 years ago. 102%. There's something happening that's really beautiful to see. And these are people, in many cases, as I said last night, these are people that have never voted. Ben, I have people coming up, they said, and I'm talking about 40, 50, 60, 70 years old. So many people. They say, Mr. Trump, I've never voted before. And they've got a Trump shirt on. I mean, they never put a political shirt on in their lives. They weren't political people. They never had confidence in the people that they were voting for. They said, I have had so, I mean, literally, when I shake hands with people or when I sign autographs, people are saying, I've never voted before, Mr. Trump, but I am so proud to be voting. And some people go early voting. It's been an amazing thing. And what I said to the Republican Party, the establishment, if there is such a thing, I guess I used to be a member of the establishment 8 months ago, but if there is such a thing, I'm not sure that there is, but I said embrace it instead of fighting it, instead of fighting me like this, you know, these people from Club for Growth. These are people that came to my office, they asked me for $1 million. I said, who are they? I don't even know who they are. They asked me for $1 million. And I said, well, let me think about it. Then I found out who they are, and I said, I'm not going to waste $1 million. Why would I give them $1 million? And as soon as I said that, they started doing negative ads. They went negative on me. If I would have given them $1 million, they wouldn't be doing negative ads. They're extortionists. They're extortionists. That's all they are. And I look on television, I see negative ads, which are all wrong. The ads are lies, by the way. But you know, so that's what you have. We should embrace it. The Republican Party should grab this, and we will have a victory like the Republican Party has never had before. One of the things Ben and I were talking about, I will win Michigan. That's not in the playbook for the Republican Party. I think I have a chance to win New York. That's not in the playbook. Can you imagine if you win New York? You know, they always talk about the 6 states you have to win, the Florida, Virginia, you know, just go down the line, Pennsylvania, Ohio. You have to win certain states. If you lose one of them, it's over for the Republican Party. The fact is, the structurally, it's much more difficult for somebody to get elected from the Republican Party. Everybody knows that. With me, I add a lot of states that aren't even in play for anybody else. I mean, I add all of the Rust Belt states. I own states that I will get states that are unbelievable, that are unthinkable for the Republican Party. And we should embrace it. All right, a couple of more and we'll go on.
Mr. Trump, you said Dr. Carson over there would be handling education for you. Here in Florida, a lot of people are angry about Common Core. It just came in a few years ago. But it's up to the states to handle that. So how would Dr. Carson do something about the issue that a lot of people have with Common Core?
Well, Ben knows the education. He knows what's going on. And I'm personally very much opposed to Common Core. I like local education. Ben feels very much the same way. And I think Ben is going to do a tremendous service for helping the states because, you know, we want to see it. There's great love in education. And when you circle those schools with the parents and the teachers and everything else, instead of some bureaucrat in Washington, you're going to do a lot better. Okay.
Have you had any conversations with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell?
I have not yet. I'm sure I will, but I have not yet. I have not yet.
What is your reaction to the news that Mitch McConnell has been advising vulnerable Senate Republicans on, you know, running away from you if you were the nominee?
I'm sure that will change. Yeah.
Do you think that the Republican Party leadership, those that are in Washington right now, are disconnected from the Republican base, the electorate? Is that who you're seeing as maybe potentially dividing, uniting the electorate against the party leadership?
It's true. There's a big disconnection between the so-called leadership. I don't even know what the leadership is. I can't define the leadership because nobody knows what it is. But there's a big disconnect between the so-called leadership and the people. But the people, to me, are much more important because they're the ones doing the voting. That's why I'm standing up here today and other people aren't.
Why do you think there is a disconnect? What are they not understanding about their
The Republican Party lost its way. They've lost 2 elections that they should have won. Certainly the last election they absolutely should have won easily. That should have been an easy victory. In my opinion, much easier than the one we have coming up. And they lost. So the Republican Party lost its way. The Republican Party now, something has happened. Call it a miracle, call it whatever you want to do, but they're talking about it all over the world. It's the biggest story in all of politics. It's one of the big stories of the world. The millions and millions of people that are pouring into the Republican Party, not to the Democrats, to the Republican Party. And these are people that were disenfranchised. These are people that haven't had a pay increase in 20 years. These are people that have seen their jobs go to China and to Mexico and to Japan and to Vietnam and to every other country in the world but us. It's going to all end. It's going to end.
What are you going to say
Believe
to
me, it's going to end.
What are you going to say to Democratic voters if you get to the general election? Democrats, what are you going to say to them?
Well, one of the things we're going to do,
So you win a place like
yeah,
New York.
let me tell you about the Democratic voters, as you said. It's actually the Democrat voters. And I will tell you, one of the things we're going to do is we are going to get so many Democrats. That's already been proven. So many Democrats have come and signed registration forms for the primaries where they're voting for me. They left. They said they've never done this in their lives. You know, they had an expression, Democrats for Reagan, years ago. We're going to have Democrats for Trump, but it's going to be much bigger. We're going to get tremendous numbers of Democrats. I have people in Hollywood, friends of mine, saying, you know, everybody out there is voting for you, but they're not going to admit it. I say, why? Aren't you proud? No, because I have a tough stance on crime. I have a tough stance on borders. They all know I'm right, but they're liberal people. They don't want to admit it, but you know what? They're going to vote for Trump.
Ted Cruz recently acknowledged that this would come down to the convention. If this does come down to a convention fight, what's your campaign doing? What are you doing to
Well, I think we'll do it without a convention. I hope we're going to do it without going down into the convention, without having a fight. But I do feel, and I said it strongly, whoever has the most delegates at the end of this trip should win.
What are you doing to prepare for the possibility?
Well, I'll prepare, but I'm hoping to prepare. We're going to have I think, look, Ohio should be great for me because they're losing tremendous numbers of jobs. You've seen what's happened with the coal industry in Ohio. I think I'll beat John Kasich, yeah. I mean, John Kasich has been an absentee governor. He's been campaigning for he lived in New Hampshire. In fact, Chris Christie said that absolutely John Kasich was there much more than him, which is true. And John Kasich then went, as you know, to other states, to different states, very big in South Carolina. He was there. He didn't win. Didn't win in New Hampshire, right? Didn't win in Michigan. He guaranteed Michigan. He said, I will win Michigan. And I thought he said, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought he said if I don't win Michigan, I'd drop out because Michigan's his neighboring state. And I won Michigan in a landslide. And he was living there. So John has been, you know, not really there. And John's got some innate problems. He's very much in favor of Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP. That will be the destruction of Ohio. And now that the oil is down, you know, Ohio got lucky because they struck oil. And the budget of Ohio went up more than any budget in the entire United States, higher than any budget. But they got lucky because oil was under their ground, as opposed to some states where they don't have the oil. Now that the prices of oil are down, Ohio's going to have a lot of problems. Okay, maybe one more, two more. Go ahead.
Just to be clear, you're not going to be in Salt Lake City on March 21st for this next debate?
I didn't know there was a next debate. I thought we had our next debate last night. No? They have yet another. Look, this has been a ratings bonanza. And I would do debates, frankly, if the networks agreed to give all of the money to the, let's say, to the wounded warriors or to the veterans. But the networks are making a fortune on these debates. The ratings for the debates are through the roof. But you know what? Can I be honest with you? I think it's time to end the debates. No, I didn't know about a debate in Salt Lake City. Yeah.
Earlier, just to clarify, you said that you've been hearing mostly from Republicans like Paul Ryan, but have you personally reached out to anybody in the Republican Party, and do you think that's something...
Well, I'd rather not say, but I've been hearing from virtually everybody in the Republican Party, and they're congratulating me, and they're saying we're going to get together. They want to embrace it. Look, these are not stupid people. These are very smart people. They want to embrace it. What are they going to do, take millions of these voters? Do you know that if you look at the polls, and people are telling me this every time, when I went to Nevada, which we won, and I went to, you know, all of them, the people that work in the polling areas, they've been there for 20, 25 years, they love it, you know, they do it, they're political people. Every single time I go, they say, Mr. Trump, we've never seen anything like this. You go to Nevada, that say we'd stand here and the place would be empty all morning long, and now you'd have lines that are 5 blocks long. It's really been an amazing thing. Yes, ma'am, go ahead. Absolutely.
So last night on the debate stage, you said that trade is one of the areas on which you
Right.
diverge from the Republican Party.
Right. Very,
You've been
very much
discussing
so.
a lot in the context of Ohio. So how would you say you differ on trade from Hillary Clinton?
Well, Hillary's terrible on trade. First of all, she has no business instinct. She doesn't have the energy or the strength to get the right trade deals made. Let me tell you, you need strength, you need stamina, you need a lot to get these deals done. They come at you in waves. And to do these deals where they wrap them up and they put 12 countries in one, TPP as an example, I want individual trade deals with individual countries. Some deals we'll make that will be so good. Some countries treat us better than others. Some are worse. China will take advantage of TPP. It's not in it now, but believe me, they will come through the back door. They're watching it so closely. I have so many friends in China. I have great respect for China. I'm not angry at China. I'm angry at our people. We have a trade deficit with China this year, $500 billion. It's unsustainable. No, we're going to change our trade deals. We're going to make great deals. We're going to become a rich nation again. We cannot become a great nation until we become rich again. You know, we can't afford Social Security. We can't afford anything. I'm going to save Social Security. There are so many things we can do. It's going to go quickly, too. Okay, yes.
Can we ask a quick question to Dr. Carson about your decision to endorse Mr. Trump over Senator Cruz? You did indicate earlier in the week that you were open to endorsing one of the two. So why not Senator Cruz?
Well, first of all, we had a lot of excellent candidates. I think any of the 17 candidates who were running could have done a fine job. But one of the real factors for me is what will happen if we allow the political operatives to succeed in their endeavor to stop Donald Trump. I think it would fracture the party irreparably, and it would hand the election to the Democrats. And they would get 2 to 4 Supreme Court picks, and America would be forever changed. And that's the big picture. It's a very big picture. It's not about me. It's not about Mr. Trump. It's about America.
Why not Senator Cruz, ultimately?
Because I feel that Mr. Trump is willing to do what needs to be done to break the stranglehold of special interest groups and the political class.
Are there any remaining hard feelings towards Senator Cruz over what happened in Iowa?
I've completely forgiven him. That's a duty one has as a Christian.
Dr. Carson, you said throughout your life God has led you to your most important decisions. This truly is an important decision. Did God lead you to Donald Trump?
I prayed about it a lot, and I got a lot of indications. People calling me that I haven't talked to for a long time saying, I had this dream about you and Donald Trump. I mean, it's just an amazing thing. But, you know, I also tend to think that the way God speaks to you is by giving you wisdom. And that wisdom says to me that if we allow this attempt to disrupt the will of the people to be successful, it will fracture the party in an irreparable way. And that will hand the election to people who I personally believe would destroy our country. And the reason I say that is because, you know, Hillary Clinton was a great friend of Saul Alinsky. She was on a first-name basis with him when she was a student. Saul Alinsky wrote the book Rules for Radicals. And if you haven't read it, I recommend that you read it and see the kinds of things that are recommended to change, fundamentally change this nation from the great success that we have to a socialist country. And the dedication page of that book says, dedicated to Lucifer, the original radical who gained his own kingdom. I don't want anything to do with anything like that.
Dr. Carson, you talked about burying the hatchet. Did you have any kind of conversation with Mr. Trump like that with Senator Ted Cruz? And did he ask you for your endorsement?
He did not specifically ask for an endorsement, but he did apologize, said that, you know, he wasn't really aware of what was going on. He didn't agree with it.
Why
Why Mr. Trump over Ted Cruz?
Dr. Carson, you said just a week ago today at CPAC that you were endorsing We the People, and it sounds as if in that intervening time between then and now you've evolved, and the central focus, what I hear you saying is the effort to stop Donald Trump is what motivated you to endorse him. Is it Donald Trump's qualities for the presidency or this movement against him that puts you where you are right now?
It's about we the people. We need to empower the people. That is not going to be done through politics as usual, be that Republican politics as usual or be that Democrat politics as usual. It requires somebody who's a bit of an iconoclast, but someone who has the ability to listen and to make wise decisions.
Dr. Carson, do you think that, going back to what Mr. Trump said about embracing these people, you had a lot of evanger.licals come out to a lot of rallies in Dayton when you were there, when I was there. Do you think that people will be representative of the American people, and do you think you can help bridge the gap with those evangelicals as well as with people of color now that you're endorsing Mr. Trump?
Well, I hope that we can bridge the gap with everybody. All the policies that I have ever talked about, and Mr. Trump is going to be on board with this too, we talk about things that are good for everybody, not for this group or that group. The whole concept of picking and choosing winners and losers is something that I think is antithetical to what we believe, don't you? And that simply would not happen with a Trump administration. We would be looking at ways to do things that benefit all Americans, that create an equal playing field, equality of opportunity. That's what we're looking for. And that doesn't mean that we're not sensitive to people who are downtrodden. In fact, we're very sensitive to people who are downtrodden. And we'll be putting in place things that will allow those people to ascend. Many people have been placed in a position of dependency for generations. They don't even recognize what's going on. We have to change that.
Dr. Carson, do you see a
over of Latin American countries? What are you doing to reverse that situation? We are fighting in the Middle East, but they are now in our neighborhood. What we are doing to reverse the China influence and Russian influence in our neighborhood?
Well, I'll let Mr. Trump answer that question.
Dr. Carson, do you see a future for yourself in politics? And even if there were no promises made as part of this endorsement, would you be interested in serving in a potential Trump administration?
Well, I'm interested in saving America. My concern is our posterity, all the people who are coming after us. And we are destroying any possibility of the American dream for them with the policies that we're doing. So I would be very interested in helping to achieve the goal of saving America and making it great.
As part of a potential Trump
Absolutely.
administration.
Dr. Carson, you talk about two Donald Trumps.
Oh, Catherine, I didn't notice that was you.
Nice to see you. You talk about two Donald Trumps, the one we see in public, the one we see in private. Does that worry you for the American voters? Should the voters know that second Donald Trump, and then as that relates to you and Mr. Trump have sparred on a number of issues, whether it's Muslim database, whether it's religion. Are we now seeing a second Dr. Carson with this endorsement?
I don't think so. But my point being that there's a different persona. Some people have gotten the impression that Donald Trump is, this person who is not malleable, who does not have the ability to listen and to take information in and to make wise decisions. And that's not true. Now, you might get that impression from, looking at debates and looking at some of the public appearances, but he's much more cerebral than that and a much more reasonable person than comes across. But as you well know, because you've heard me talk about it a lot, the media, they're very skillful at painting people certain ways. And it may not be who that person is at all. And that person can spend all of their time trying to change the media, or they can just move ahead. And I think he's decided he's just going to move ahead and focus the attention on the American people not so much on the media. I think that's the right way to do it.
Will you be campaigning with Mr. Trump? Will you be hitting the campaign trail with him?
We will do some campaigning together, absolutely.
And you said you would be interested in
And the last question?
you would be interested in being a part of a potential Donald Trump administration. Have you been promised a running mate slot or a VP slot in exchange for this endorsement?
We have not talked specifically about a role other than being involved in helping formulate policies and trying to make America great. That's the real key. And as was said by many, it is great, but it is nowhere near as great as it can be. And a lot of the things that are in place and that have been in place and growing over the last few decades have led us to a place of incredible stagnation. We don't need to be there. And if we once again begin to embrace those policies that will create the atmosphere for entrepreneurial risk-taking and capital investment, you will see an explosion like nothing you've ever seen before. We simply haven't been doing that. I don't think it's going to be that hard. And I don't think Mr. Trump thinks it's going to be that hard either.
So thank you all very much. Thank you very much. Great honor. And go outside. We have coffee and drinks. Enjoy yourselves. Thank you.